So it looked like I predicted last week. Dallas would play well. They have the personnel to match up on the O-line, D-line about as well as anybody can do against Philadelphia. Dak and CeeDee Lamb are like Jalen Hurts and A.J. Brown. You're not going to stop them. That's what I said Friday. But I also said I'll take the Eagles to win by about 4 points over the Cowboys because of situations. Third, fourth down, red zone, late game decisions. That'll be the difference, and it was. Total yards, time of possession, penalties, third down efficiency, both very even. Colin, Dak was great. So was Jalen Hurts, who finished with a higher passer rating. Dak's foot is just out by an inch there, but only two things could not happen down the stretch. They couldn't take a sack, and they couldn't have a penalty. And in back-to-back plays, situationally, that's just what Dallas did. Their final 5 plays were a penalty, a sack, an incompletion, a penalty, and throwing short of the goal line. And stop with the excuses. Dak's in his 8th year. McCarthy's in his 17th. How come Philadelphia, with a younger quarterback, a younger head coach, a younger coordinator, how come they're so organized in key situations? The Cowboys always looked a bit chaotic and disheveled and panicked in those situations. It's not the roster. It's almost impossible to match up with the Eagles' O-line, D-line. But Dallas does pretty well. Philly had to keep in tight ends to block after the first half. That's not the issue. It's not that they don't have personnel. And I know you think the officials are out to get them, but when's the last time these Cowboys stacked up on the road against a great team and a great quarterback and won? They get close all the time. Late in games, Philadelphia looks like a perfectly coordinated 4x100 relay team, perfectly handing off the baton. And the Cowboys look like people in a potato sack race falling all over each other. That's what we predicted. We said Dallas would play well. Dallas would match up. But it would be situations here. At the end of the game was classic. They get it to CeeDee Lamb, but the Eagles, it's like they practice it all week. All camp right in front of the goal line, swarm, suffocate, and push back. It looked like they were really well coached late. Philadelphia does this. This is who they are. They win pretty, they win ugly, they win close, they win situationally. It's not that Dallas doesn't have the players, but it does feel like, considering McCarthy's in year 17 and Dak is in year 8, they're not a real smart football team late in games. I mean, even that play, throwing in front of the goal line when clearly Philadelphia stacked their entire secondary at the goal line and moved forward. It never ends. It's the same thing. That's why Dallas has become, for me, so easy to predict. You know how these games are going to go. It was going to be close. It's a division rivalry game, right? This isn't going to be San Francisco and Dallas. This is going to be a close game, TV game. Dallas can match up. Jalen Hurts wasn't 100%, but in the end, it was the end of the game. Sacks, penalties, confusion, disheveled, a little panicky. It just never changes. But there's always tomorrow.
It's a game of inches. It's why you got to love this game. It's tough. It's tough to win. We fought our asses off. Obviously, they did. Great NFC's matchup. They came out with it tonight. An inch or two on one of those 3 plays, and we could be talking about a different outcome. So, but they got this one. Sucks. We're gonna take it. We're gonna move forward and use the fight. Use a lot of the success. A lot of good things came out of this game despite the loss.
That's why at the trade deadline, I said Dallas should get Derrick Henry. How many first downs did Dallas get rushing yesterday? 3. They've become very reliant on Dak and CeeDee Lamb. Tony Pollard's a nice number 2 pitch. But I start looking at this. Total yards, Dallas had an advantage. Penalties the same. Time of possession the same. But when you look at rushing, Dallas needed Derrick Henry at the trade deadline. They just couldn't move the chains running the football. They had to go to the air. And in the end, CeeDee Lamb came up just short. I think it's a big mistake by Jerry. He loves to tell you what a wheeler and dealer he is. Derrick Henry was there. The phone lines were open for Tennessee, regardless of what they said publicly. 3 first downs rushing the ball. Philadelphia now is more of a passing team than a running team. They had over double that. All right, so Bills-Bengals last night. We talk about this all the time. We look at young men, 22, 23, 24, 25. I do this all the time. Well, he's got a ceiling. That quarterback's got a ceiling. Coaches have a ceiling too. Sean McDermott, I watched last night. He's Chuck Knox, former Bills coach, Seahawk coach, Ram coach. He's Marty Schottenheimer. Sean McDermott did a great job to clean up the mess. Very good with details, organization, football 101 stuff. But I don't think, like Chuck Knox or Marty Schottenheimer, he's a visionary. He's a creative. This team is getting worse. After that opening drive by Joe Burrow to score, I really never felt Buffalo had a shot. I didn't. Josh Allen had a bad shoulder, and yet because they've never had a top 5 running game under McDermott, despite having Josh Allen. I mean, Baltimore's got a quarterback that moves. Why do they always have decent run games? McDermott has never developed a run game. 7 years, it's always, hey, Josh, can you save us? Now he's starting to break down like early Cam and early Big Ben. Even at 6'6", 255, he takes too many shots. He is starting now to show his age. And McDermott is starting to show his ceiling. Football's not just about organizing stuff. We all know somebody like that. The great organizer in your family. You want to make them executor of the will. You want to have them, the paperwork, cabinets, files, everything online. But who's the vision of this football operation? Defense, they're now 17th. Offense, they're now 17th. Special teams, PFF rates them 30th. What do they do well? You do not have to be in a salary cap league a perfect team anymore. You just can't be average at everything. You've got to be great at something. You've got to be able to lean into something. Kansas City, it's creativity. Cincinnati, it's Burrow and Chase. Philadelphia, it's Jalen Hurts and the O-line, D-line. You don't have to be great everywhere. I don't love the secondary play by Philadelphia. I don't love the receiving core for Kansas City. Cincinnati's O-line is okay. They've spent money and resources on it. It's never great. What is Buffalo good at? That is the responsibility of a head coach. You can't blame the quarterback. You can't blame Joe Burrow if the secondary for the Bengals isn't tight. This morning, this is embarrassing, with Josh Allen, one of the 3 or 4 seminal talents in the world playing quarterback. They are 1 game ahead of the Raiders. The Raiders. A tire fire. They're 1 game ahead of the Raiders and behind the Jets now with Zach Wilson. No excuses. It's time to pivot. Chuck Knox, older, I know, but that's what I grew up with. He cleaned up the Rams, the Bills, and the Seahawks. But then he would hit the ceiling. Didn't have great vision. Marty Schottenheimer cleaned up a lot of messes. But you got to be able to get to the next level. See stuff before it happens. There's a certain rigidity about Sean McDermott, and this franchise is now regressing. They're not Baltimore. They're not Cincinnati. They're not Kansas City. They're not Philadelphia. I don't think they're San Francisco. I'm not sure they're Pittsburgh. Here's the coach after.
We got off to a really good start in a rhythm, and then after that it was tough sledding, and so that can't happen, right? I mean, against a good football team that's known for scoring points and a good quarterback, you got to be able to score points, and we didn't do it enough.
Josh Allen, Stephon Diggs, a capable offensive coordinator, a Pro Bowler on the offensive line. Very little rhythm, no run game. Hey, Josh, save us. I know it's an uncomfortable conversation, but the coach that can clean stuff up often doesn't have the vision and sort of leans into rigidity. That's what makes a good organizer, right? Spotting all the little messes, cleaning them up. But right now, this organization is stuck and regressing. Just stuck. Cincinnati's not. Kansas City's not. Philadelphia's not. San Francisco's not. Baltimore certainly isn't. Jacksonville's surging. Look around the AFC. This isn't working. It's not. What are they great at? 30th special teams, 17th offense defense. I mean, they've got some good defensive personnel. They can be very special at times in the red zone. But you watched it last night. Cincinnati marched right down the field opening drive, controlled that football game. I never felt in the second half Cincinnati was in danger. Not one time.